Michigan Gal 007, hello and welcome to Music Trivia. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Tammy, good evening. Welcome to Music Trivia, Tammy. I hope you had a great weekend. Well, actually, I guess technically your weekend is still happening, isn't it? Colleen, good evening, Colleen. Lieutenant RN, good evening and welcome to Music Trivia, both of you. Hope you had a great weekend. It's your daughter's birthday today, Amy. How old is your daughter? It's 8 p.m. where you are, Tammy. Aunt B, evening. Teacup Lover, good evening. What's up, Will? Not much. We're gonna play some music trivia here in a little bit. 14. Well, happy birthday to your daughter, Amy. Is she nearby? Well, I'll sing her happy birthday if you bring her over to the computer. Juicy Jules, glad you dodged a feed. You safe grocery store, Sister Will. Well, thank you, Juicy Jules. Lisa, good evening. Welcome. Welcome to Music Trivia. Good evening, Cement Shoes. She's nearby. All right. Amy, I want to sing your daughter happy birthday. 14 years old. There's nothing like a stranger singing happy birthday to your daughter, right? I hope she enjoys it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Amy's daughter. Happy birthday to you. Colleen, LOL. If it's your birthday, I hope you have a pleasant birthday. Well, that's good, Amy. Gone Girl, good evening. Hey, Will, how are you and the family? Pretty good, Gone Girl. Most of the family just kicking back and relaxing today. We didn't have much, in the way of plans. Kind of just sat back and relaxed today, taking it easy. We needed a relaxing weekend after the last couple of weeks at least. Doing great. Billy Cat, good evening. Welcome to Music Trivia. Starfire, good evening. Virtual hug. Well, thank you. Starfire. How's my knee? Better. Getting better. Slow process, but better. Makes it a little bit easier to read if you put your glasses on. Put me in the little window, the little tiny window. Squish my head. We did nothing all weekend, literally nothing. Well, that's good. Relax. Sometimes you just have to, do nothing at all, just to kind of recharge your batteries. I mean, that's what we did today. Didn't do anything. Just sat around, kind of read, kind of caught up on what's happening around the world. Ever walk around with your glasses on, looking for your glasses? Oh, Tammy. Yes. Or I do this where my glasses are on top of my head, and I'm looking. I'll walk around for an hour looking for my glasses, going, where the hell are they? And my wife will pick them up off the top of my head. Yeah, you slept for 20 hours. Wow. Over the cold and all the garbage going on in the world. Yeah. You do it. You do that too all the time, Tammy? All righty, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get going here. Get the first question underway. Bananarama album Venus, hit single Venus, wasn't even side A release. What was the first single from side A? Is it A, A Trick of the Night, B, Ready or Not, C, Dance with a Stranger, or D, True Confessions? Bananarama album Venus, hit single Venus, wasn't even a side A release. What was the first single from side A? B, B, D. B, B, C, and B. B seems to be a popular one that people are guessing, or maybe they know. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know the answer to this one until I put it on the trivia for tonight. B, not a Bananarama fan. Starfire's not a Bananarama fan. I have the album. It's never been opened. It's still sealed. I'm guessing. I only remember Venus, Cruel Summer, and I Heard a Rumor. Teacup Lover is going with D. For question number 1, the correct answer is D as in dog. And it's got a sticker right there that about Venus, but it says contains the worldwide hit single Venus. But the sticker that used to be, you can't see it, but there used to be a sticker right here that had the singles from the album. But True Confessions was the first single off of the A side. D as in dog. Question 2. Who had the smash hit album Surrealistic Pillow in 1967? Was it A, Jefferson Starship, B, Jefferson Airplane, C, Jefferson Township, or D, Jefferson Rabbit? Who had the smash hit album Surrealistic Pillow in 1967? You were not alive, says Colleen. Gone Girl was only 4. Grace Slick. Grace Slick. I doubt Grace Slick had that album. It's funny though. Me either, Colleen, but my parents loved them. Who had the smash hit album release Surrealistic Pillow in 1967? That's quite a long time ago. Everything was French when I was 4. Oh. I wouldn't know how to even say that in French. I don't know French. Do not know French. In high school, when all my friends were taking French, the language of love, I took Russian. Yep. Lieutenant RN is going with B. Question number 2. Who had the smash hit album release Surrealistic Pillow in 1967? The correct answer to question number 2 is B as in boy. Now, the Jefferson Airplane is the correct answer, but Jefferson Starship is the same band, basically. But that's after they broke up, they reformed, and they became Jefferson Starship. C and D are just made up answers. But question number 3. Sheena Easton album, A Private Heaven, released in 1984, featured what breakout song that was only added after the release of Flashdance? Was it A, Strut, B, Hungry Eyes, C, All by Myself, or D, Sugar Walls? Sheena Easton's album, A Private Heaven, released in 1984-85, featured what breakout song that was only added after the release of Flashdance? Yeah, got a little bit of everything. A, D, B, A. You don't hear of Sheena Easton anymore. No. A lot of musical artists from the 80s. They're just kind of, they were really popular from late 70s, 80s, and going into the 90s, and then poof, they just kind of vanished. I don't know what happened to them all. That might be interesting to think for, trivia night one night to do, where are they now? What are they doing now? Kind of trivia. She's diabetic after sugar walls. She got the sugars. I'm not kidding. That's what my grandmother used to call diabetes. My dad was diabetic, insulin dependent, And my grandmother used to say that he had the sugars. That's how much they knew about it back then. What song was added after the release of the movie Flashdance? Do. Teacup Lover is going with A. Do. 1984, 1985. I'm trying to remember where I was in 1984. It's been so long. I think in 1984, I was living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The suburbs, or the suburbs. It could have been living in St. Paul, but I don't remember exactly. It might have been St. Paul. Teacup Lover, you were in college. That was a hell of a movie. My mother's family had the sugar, type 2 diabetes. Amy's first year of high school was in 1984. I maybe other people are like this as well. But when I try to remember like dates, and stuff like that, I try to in my mind pull up a memory, that connects it to it. So when I think of the 80s, I think of, okay, what year did the Minnesota Twins, the baseball team, win the World Series? Was that 82, 83, 84? When was it the first time? And then they won it, again. But when was the first time that they won it? So that's what, in my mind, I'm trying to connect it to an event, in my timeline, my life. Was a freshman in high school, 1984. Favorite hill, question 3A. For question number 3, Sheena Easton's album, A Private Heaven, released in 1984-85, featured what breakout song that was only added after the release of Flashdance? Question number 3. The correct answer is A, as in apple, Strut. Strut was added. The first 10,000 copies of the album had been shipped out to record stores, and they did not contain the song Strut. So the second pressing, and thereon multiple more, all added the song Strut. I hated high school. Amy, you hated high school? I moved around so much in high school. I was never in one place long enough to hate it, I guess. Fits the movie. You're a geek. We were all socially awkward back then. I'm pretty sure of it. What happened to Mariah Carey? I don't know. That's a good question. Hungry Eyes is from Dirty Dancing. It could be. Hungry Eyes could be on Dirty Dancing. I don't know. All these could be on different albums. But question number 4. What was the very first rock and roll song to ever hit number 1 on the Billboard charts? Was it A, Jumpin' Rock, B, Sweet Mary Lou, C, Great Balls of Fire, or D, Rock Around the Clock? My high school was too big to many cliques, etc. Bullies. Oh, she hated Nick Cannon for breakfast. She ate Nick Cannon for breakfast. Oh. In my senior class, there was, I think, 537. I ranked 530 or something like that. There were 7 people behind me who ranked less. The valedictorian of my senior class finished dead last. She did not get to walk with graduation because they calculated her her uh, academics incorrectly, and it turns out that she had failed a freshman like PE or home ec class or something because she had gotten mono when she was a freshman. So she didn't have that credit. So they said, nope, sorry, you don't get to graduate with the rest of your class. The valedictorian of our class. Well, they since changed that pretty quick. But that was a disgrace. That was the most interesting thing from my senior class is that I get to say from the rest of my life, I graduated with a higher rank in my senior class than my valedictorian. And the valedictorian of my class now works at Rite Aid drugstore. Damn, that's harsh, right? Yeah, it was. What was the very first rock and roll song to hit #1 on the Billboard charts? It's a very interesting question. Because what was the first song? We had a bomb threat at your graduation? Wow, that's awful. Favorite hill is going with D. Harry Chapin came to your high school. Wow, that'd be cool. You should put up a criminal teacher from my high school. No, that's a true story. You had a criminal teacher. Irene Cara. What was the very first rock and roll song to ever hit #1 on the Billboard charts? Yeah, we got a lot of different guesses. D's, we got a lot of D's. C. All right, question number 4. What was the very first song to ever hit the rock and roll? What was the very first rock and roll song to ever hit #1 on the Billboard charts? The correct answer is D, as in dog. Rock Around the Clock. Look up Lawrence Botone, Norwalk, Connecticut. Will I'll write it down. Lawrence Botte own Norwalk. From Connecticut. All right, I'll look it up later. Thank you. But Rock Around the Clock was the very first #1 hit rock and roll song to hit the Billboard top of the Billboard charts. Question number 5. True or false? Bruce Springsteen was questioned for breaking into Graceland. True or false? Bruce Springsteen, born in the USA, was questioned for breaking into Graceland. They played that on the earlier episodes of Happy Days. Yeah, that's true. I had a high school teacher that was he was convicted of crimes against children. I think he molested like some girl or something like that, and he was convicted of it. They stripped him of his teaching credentials. He didn't do much time in jail, but when he got out of jail, he ended up getting a job at like 7-Eleven, like right next to the school. That didn't last very long. I don't know why he thought that would be a great place for him to work. Because as soon as people found out he was working, basically across the street from the school, for where the student went to school, the teachers put it, and parents put an end to that pretty quick. This teacher is still in prison. Lawrence Norwalk. True or false? Did Bruce Springsteen, was he questioned for breaking into Graceland? I swear, I think of my high school advanced chem teacher was a Nazi. You got to come here where I live, Tammy. The U.S. government during the war, they flew in, and basically they brought all these scientists to help the nuclear program and the missile program for the United States government. They brought them in here to where I live in this town to help them develop the nuclear bomb and build up their rocket paralysis, prowess. So we've got towns, streets all over this place that are named after former Nazis. Well, they worked for the Nazi party. There's a lot of people who are mad about the different names of the streets, but it's all over the place here. The Manhattan Project, yep, part of the Manhattan Project. The nuclear part that was dropped on Hiroshima came from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, in the first bomb. The nuclear part of it that the second bomb was from right here. So the nuclear part came from Tennessee, and the other part of it came from where I live. Jennifer Hill, hi everyone, join late. I'll catch up. We're on question number 5 right now. Excuse me. Bruce Springsteen was questioned for breaking into Graceland. True or false? For question number 5, the correct answer is A, as in apple. Bruce Springsteen was questioned for breaking into Graceland. Question number 6. Bands break up all the time. Members die or leave bands. Whose son went on to play for the band The Who in 1996? Whose son went on to play for the drums for the band The Who in 1996? Was it Alice Cooper's son, Jimi Hendrix's son, Ringo Starr's son, or James Conner's son? Jesus, Amy, that guy probably had a shrine to John Wayne Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer. Amy's guessing C, Spent Shoes C, Tammy C, Billy Cat C. Colleen has got D, before my time, before 1996. Bands break up all the time. Members die or leave bands. Whose son went on to play drums for the band The Who in 1996? Who's James Conner? Says Starfire. Who is James Conner? I don't know who that is. Maybe people do. Maybe they don't. Oh boy. B. Lieutenant RN's going with C. Whose son went on to play the drums for The Who in 1996? Do 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 do. All right, question number 6. Whose son went on to play the drums for the band The Who in 1996? The correct answer is C, as in cat. C as in cat. Ringo Starr's son, Zach Starkey. Starkey. Zach Starkey is Ringo's son, and he went on to play the drums for the band The Who in 1996. To answer your question, Starfire, who is James Conner? James Conner is a running back for, he's a football player. He's not even a musician. I had to come up with a fourth one, so throw it in there. Looks like Epstein. I'm going to look him up later for sure. All right, question number 7. Gotta be played live somewhere first. Where did Led Zeppelin first play the song Stairway to Heaven first? What did they first play it in London, Belfast, Chicago, or the USSR Moscow? Where did Led Zeppelin first play Stairway to Heaven? London, Belfast, Chicago, or Moscow? B, D, A. Love that song, A, says Jennifer. I love Zeppelin, don't get me wrong, but over the years, I think, especially like the last couple of years, I find myself listening to more Pink Floyd than Zeppelin. I used to listen to, Zeppelin just about every day. I still love the music. Don't get me wrong there. I like their older music, from like their first 6 or 7 albums. Changing to B, says Tammy. B says left-hand RN. Cement Shoes is going with B. Love Pink Floyd. Just remember, don't trade your heroes for ghosts. Favorite hill is question 7 is going with B. Put me back in a small window there. Question number 7. Got to be played live somewhere first. Where did Led Zeppelin first play the song Stairway to Heaven first? Learning to Fly is one of your faves. Saw them twice. Love. That'd be great. I would love to see Pink Floyd, especially back then when they. But Wishing You Were Here. So it's always been one of my favorite songs. But where did they play where did Led Zeppelin play Stairway to Heaven first? The correct answer is B as in boy in Belfast. Belfast is the first place they ever played the Stairway to Heaven. A lot of people originally considered that that they played it in some dive place in London, but it wasn't true. They debuted the song in its entirety in Belfast, and I know that it says B fast, and it should be there's an L missing from it, but I purposely did not misspell that. Did not purposely misspell it. Not be fast. Belfast is what it's supposed to be. I know. I didn't catch that until earlier, and I couldn't change it then because they were already uploaded. All right, going on to question number 8. True or false? Nirvana, the band, only released 6 studio albums. Favorite Hill says, love me some Pink Floyd. Rihanna, good evening. Sorry I'm late. I'm too late to stay. No, you're never too late to stay, Rihanna. We're only on question 8 out of 20. You're more than happy to join in any time. We're just playing for fun. I'm glad you can make it tonight. Thank you for joining us. True or false? Nirvana, the band, only released 6 studio albums. True or false? Excuse me. I've been drinking like a lot of water, and I just can't seem to get over this stupid cough. Actually, I think it's in my throat. It's in the back of my throat. I'm sure I've done something to it. 10 RNs going with B, Jennifer B, Amy A, Amy B, Summit Choose B, Starfire A. I mean, you got a 50-50 chance of getting this one right, ladies and gentlemen. It's either true or false. 50-50 chance. Did they release only 6 studio albums? Hot Tea with Honeywell. Starfire, I'm definitely going to do that after the stream is over with. Unless I can get somebody. Well, I was going to text them, but I remember I turned off my cell, so it wouldn't keep on giving me updates. No, but I could die in this chair and nobody would find me for a couple of days. That's how much time I actually spend in the studio. I'm sure my son would find me, or start looking for me before then, though. Vicks on the chest. Favorite Hill is going with false. I don't like menthol, like mentholatum, Vicks. Burns, like sinuses. Stop it. True or false? Nirvana, the band, only released 6 studio albums. False. And hello, Bean Nancy. Good evening. False. And hello, all. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, Nancy. Thank you for joining us tonight. All right, question. Rihanna, 3 studio albums, but they had several live albums. Tricky question. Well, live albums wouldn't count in that aspect because they're not recorded in the studio. So a studio album is where they went in and they recorded the album in the studio. We use Vicks in the OR for nasty odors. I have a friend who used to work for the county coroner. And that was one of the tips that they told him when he had to go pick up bodies, for transport, is to put Vicks on their lip, before you go pick up the body, before you walk in to where the body's going to be, so the stench doesn't get to you. My mom used to do that all the time. LOL. All right, so question number 8. True or false? Nirvana, the band, released only 6 studio albums. The correct answer is B as in boy. It is false. And Rihanna is absolutely correct. They only released 3 studio albums during the time that they were together. All the other albums were live or they were recorded and they weren't released until afterwards. But only 3 studio albums. Question number 9. Hello, Mel. Answer is B. Thank you for joining us for music trivia tonight. Question 9. Which of these is a real name for an album released by David Gilmour of the band Pink Floyd as a solo project? Is it A, On an Island, B, About to Face Life, C, The Lock That Kills, or D, Gilmour and Saint? My grandma used to make hot toddies, honey, lemon tea, and whiskey. That sounds good. Minus the whiskey part. I've never been a fan of like whiskey, bourbons, or anything like that. Every once in a rare while, me and Tim, I've got a bottle of R&R whiskey, rich and rare. It sits behind me here on the desk, next to the record player. But every once in a while, me and Tim will have some R&R. Love your programs. Well, thank you, Linda. Which of these is a real name for an album released by David Gilmour of the band Pink Floyd as a solo project? Is it A, On an Island, B, About to Face Life, C, The Lock That Kills, or D, Gilmour and Saint? Jennifer, it is, I'm guessing A, it sounds like Pink. I will. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you can make it, Mel. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. No idea on this one. B, Nancy, no clue. Question number 9. Which of these is a real name for an album released by David Gilmour? D, sounds like a crime show, LOL. Gilmour and Saint? Kind of. Do. All righty. Which one of these is a real album released by David Gilmour? The correct answer is A, as in apple, On an Island. A, On an Island. Okay, question number 10. And 10 is going to be our prize question. So get ready. Get your fingers ready if you need to phone a friend, call your significant other into the room, get your Googling fingers or whatever search engine you use. The next question is the prize question. And here we go. The 5 minutes starts as soon as I click on the question itself. These are the rules again. You can screen capture it, print them off if you want. Give you a couple of seconds, a minute or so to read over it. They haven't changed. I encourage you to use Google, whatever you need to try to come up with the answer to the prize question. Phone a friend, asks the person at the counter, Jackie Blue, 2. Prize giveaways are to U.S. residents only. Banking laws forbid me to offer the prize to anyone outside the U.S. They consider it money laundering to send anything of value as a prize over international waters or outside of the United States. But at the same time, though, they allow if you're in Puerto Rico or Guam, that's totally acceptable because they consider it part of the United States according to the federal government, giving away prizes. But that's the federal statute right there for it. Purple, good evening. Welcome. Be Nancy, that skull and crossbones didn't scare my parents. All right, here we go. Again, the 5 minutes you have to figure out the answer to the prize question starts as soon as I start reading it. So if you're faster at reading it and can figure it out, it leaves you more time to come up with the answer. First one to answer wins, obviously. So here we go. Prize question. You have 5 minutes to use any resource you have. What two men financed the band Van Halen's very first professional studio demo so they could get a recording contract? You need both men's names. The timer starts now. Do 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 do. I give, says Colleen. Colleen already gave up. Well, just throw out two names, Colleen. You might get one, or none. It's a pretty much a shot in the dark. The prize questions all come from the expert level of for trivia questions. All of them do. Well, looky there, Mr. Sleepy Eyes. My cat. He just finally woke up. Yeah, Humbo. Yeah, Humbo. Donald Duck and Sylvester the cat. That's a valid guess. Ready? Shucks. I don't know. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, says Tammy. Marshall Burrell and Ken Fowl. Well, I know this is off subject, but When will you be doing another Josh Duggar skit? They are great. Linda, tomorrow. Tomorrow. 2 o'clock, but I think 2 o'clock my time. I already have it done. It's already on my channel. It's just unlisted. Amy's going with Gene Simmons and Eddie Van Halen. Being Nancy, I know Gene Simmons. I only know Gene Simmons. Oh my God, he is so funny with these skits. Well, thank you, Colleen. I'm glad you enjoy him as well. Helps me save my sanity. People seem to really enjoy them. Although I do get a lot of people who are even though it says in the corner, the left-hand corner, comedy skit, I still get people who message or comment all the time. Hey, that's not right. They haven't sentenced him yet. They think that I'm actually reporting the news, and I understand why it would be confusing. I mean, everything else I do is documented, and here I am doing music trivia, and I'm doing comedy. It is confusing. I can understand that. Gene Simmons and Jan Van Halen. Got a minute and a half left. Mel really likes them. Jennifer loves the skits too. Well, good. Left 10 hour ends going with Gene Simmons and David Lee Roth. Purple's going with same with isn't it what Cement Shoes guess Marshall? Somebody who defends Josh Duggar. No words. No words for it, Colleen. Colleen. They had when Josh Duggar was convicted, they had 4,250,000 followers and subscribers and supporters. It's now 4.5 million. They've gained more since he was convicted. All right, time's up, ladies and gentlemen. So the closest anybody got was Rihanna. Rihanna, you got close, but you didn't quite get it. You were the closest, though. Get over there to the other page. The answer is Gene Simmons and Peter Criss, both of Kiss. The band Kiss, each man put up half the money, but years later, Gene Simmons took all the credit once Van Halen hit it big. Gene Simmons and Peter Criss. Eddie and Alex were from the Netherlands. Both were encouraged by their parents at a young age to play musical instruments, which is awesome. All right, so no one got it. So the pool, it just rolls over the next week. I was never a Kiss fan, but my husband is. Yeah, Gene Simmons has a giant ego. Yeah, giant ego, big ego, huge ego. But Rihanna, you got closest. At least you stuck with with Kiss. Almost got it. You were right there. But you guessed Paul Stanley. Picked the wrong member. That close. All right, question number 11. What Aerosmith song was voted best original song of the year and worst song of the year for 1998? Was it Crazy, Crying, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, or D, the Water song, Janie's Got a Gun? What Aerosmith song was voted best original song of the year and worst song of the year in 1998? Gene Simmons didn't even speak English when he got to the States. I didn't know that. Did not know that. That's interesting. Got a lot of C's and some D's and a B. What Aerosmith song was voted best original song of the year and worst song of the year for 1998? Where was Gene from? Gene Simmons? I don't know. Good question. I'm sure somebody knows. I think it is like Israel or I, something like that. It's I don't want to miss a thing. What Aerosmith song was voted best original song of the year and worst song of the year for 1998? He was born in Israel. Hafa Israel. I can't picture the video. He used unknown who went to be a famous actress. Good morning or good evening, Reichardt. That song was in a movie. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Tammy says, oh, C, 1998. What Aerosmith song was voted best original song of the year and worst song of the year? $19.98. Went to Planet Fitness in Odessa, Texas. There you go. Well, you got. If you're gonna sit that long, every day, You got to keep, working the rest of the body outside, got to balance it out, Reichardt. Probably best. From comic books? That's an odd way to learn English, but gotta do it somehow, right? What Aerosmith song was voted Best Original Song of the Year and Worst Song of the Year for 1998? The correct answer is C, as in cat. I don't want to miss a thing. I'm out of shape. Need to get back into shape, Will. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Reichardt. I've been way too sedentary for the last couple of years. I didn't get this way, overnight, and I don't expect I'm going to fix it overnight either. But I don't want to miss a thing was voted the best song of the year and worst song of the year for 1998. Taking off, Mel. Sorry, but I have to say goodnight. Have a great week ahead, everybody. You stay safe out there, Mel, and thank you for joining us. All right, question number 12. I'm so out of shape, but if I needed to haul ass, I'm going to take 2 trips. Oh, question 12. How many different times were the band Linkin Park rejected by music labels before they finally won saying yes to recording their debut album? Was it A, 52 times, B, 44 times, C, 48 times, or D, 109 times? My son came home from Germany to see me for a week. He's back in Germany now. Miss him like crazy. Now, as long as he hope he stays safe out there. But it must have been really nice to be able to see him though. It's really cool of him to come see you like that. Okie dokie. Good evening, okie dokie. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us tonight. BBBCCB. How many different times were the band Linkin Park rejected by music labels before finally one saying yes to recording their debut album? How many times were they rejected? Either way, man, they had that's smiling in the face of adversity there. There ain't no small numbers there. Dealing with teen spirit. How many different times were the band Linkin Park rejected by music labels before finally one saying yes to recording their debut album? Favorite Hill, question 12 is B, says Favorite Hill. For question 12, ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer is B, as in boy, 44. 44 times they were rejected by a record label before one finally said, we'll do it. 44 times. That's a lot. But they got to keep on going if you really believe in it. Next question. Question 13. The band Nirvana was kicked out of their release party for Nevermind because they arrived drunk and high. True or false? The band Nirvana was kicked out of their release party for the album Nevermind because they arrived drunk and high. Which one is it? Does that sound like something Nirvana would do? The band Nirvana kicked out of the release party for their own album Nevermind because they arrived drunk and high. True or false? Weren't they always high? Well, I know Kurt Cobain tried to stay as high as possible. But was Dave Grohl? Was he drunk or high? And that's why they kicked him out of their own release party? Because the question is the band Nirvana, so that would be all of the members. Okie dokie, going with B, right card A. Favorite Hill is going with false. Purple is going with B. True or false? The band Nirvana was kicked out of the release party for Nevermind because they arrived drunk and high. The correct answer for question 13 is B, as in boy. False. They did not show up drunk and high. They started a food fight, and they started throwing things that were on the, I guess, buffet, whatever you call it, appetizer table. They started throwing things at the executives for the record label. It started off with Kurt Cobain throwing chocolate covered strawberries, and then they just started throwing food at anyone and everyone. But that's what they got kicked out of the release party for the album Nevermind for, was starting a food fight. What kind of rock music was Nevermind? Alternative rock? Yeah, the alternative grunge music. They kind of say that Nirvana was the beginning of the popularization or the Seattle sound, the grunge music, but there were a lot of other bands that obviously predate Nirvana. But question number 14. Bye bye, Miss American Pie. I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. What was the name of the plane Buddy Holly died on? Was it A, St. June, B, American Pie, C, Enola Gay, or D, Winter Holly? Bye bye, Miss American Pie. I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. What was the name of the plane Buddy Holly died on? Right card B, just a guess. Linda A, Amy A, Billy Cat A, Colleen. I don't know. And before anybody guesses, or says anything, bye bye Miss American Pie. I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Is the lyrics to Don McLean's song American Pie. But drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Good old boys drinking whiskey, singing, "This'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die." Dave may have taken a fall for the others who were lit up like the Fourth. Yeah, maybe. That they still started a food fight, Rihanna. Isn't that bizarre that they would kick him out of their own, release party though? You would think you'd be like, all right, if I'm the executives, I'm leaving. You just leave. But they kicked them out. Still. Question 14 says favorite hill is B, purple B, Lieutenant RN B. Bye bye Miss American Pie. I drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. What was the name of the plane that Buddy Holly died on? Grunge, says Rihanna. For the type of music, Nirvana. Grunge, Seattle sound, alternative rock. There's a lot of different, titles, and they put on it. But grunge is definitely, the most popular. Love Dave seen the Foo Fighters 3 times. I have never seen the Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl lived here in the town that I live in now. He lived here for a spell, and then he used to play at alternative shows at a kind of like a little tiny. It used to be a square dancing club, and the square dancing club did, they broke apart, but they called the place the Hoedown. But Dave Grohl used to play there every once in a while with his local band, but before he moved on. But I never got to see Dave Grohl play yet. I mean, there's still time in life, right? When he was asked what the lyrics meant, he said it means never have to work again. So, what was the name of the plane that Buddy Holly died on? The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, is A, American Pie. Was the name of the plane that Buddy Holly died on. American Pie. Unrelated to Don McLean, but I thought that'd be a good opening to the question. It is B as in boy, American Pie. All right, question number 15. What band had all 3 members in the band at some point in its history? Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, and Eric Clapton. We are looking for the name of the band that at some point all of them have been a member of. Is it A, Pink Floyd, B, Led Zeppelin, C, the Monkees, or D, the Yardbirds? Ironically, it was American Pie. What band had all 3 members in the band at some point in its history? Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton. Yep, you got it right, Cart. Oh, I forgot to turn my stupid camera back on again. Move back over here. Click on it. There I am. I'm in the little window. What band had all 3 members in the band at some point in its history. Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, and Eric Clapton. Inner Peas, good evening. ABBA. There's a trivia question for you right there in that answer, Inner Peas. Does anybody know how they came up with the word ABBA? Good evening, though, Inner Peas. Welcome to Music Trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. Grunge roots are in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, I lived in Seattle, roughly around that time. There was a radio station there. They're still there. They're called The End, END, The End, and they used to have a Halloween party every year where you went in, and once you checked into the party, you weren't allowed to leave unless you were being picked up by a cab. No, you couldn't get any friends to come pick you up. The only way you could leave was by a cab company who had to come pick you up. Otherwise, they searched you when you came in for car keys, and you had to throw your keys. Yeah, they gave you a little tag to put your name on your car keys, and then you put them into a giant bowl, and they kept them Friday night, Saturday night, and you got them back on Sunday when everybody left. But it was a non-stop party for Halloween for 3 days. They let us all. They crashed there. There was sleeping bags and those horse troughs just filled full of beer. And then they had a wine bar where you could, different companies were giving away, different wines. It was huge. They fed you everything, but it was like 180 bucks a person or something like that, which is actually pretty cheap. I mean, if you think about it. But we used to go to it every year. Their first name, ABBA. First letters of their names, Starfire. Yeah, the ABBA is a combination of their initials. What band had all three members in the band at some point in its history? Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton. Rihanna is going with D, the Yardbirds, and Rihanna, you are correct. The Yardbirds had all three of those members in it at some point. There's a powerhouse right there. Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, and Eric Clapton. That's three of the all-time, depending upon what list you look at, three of the all-time most popular, and what the people consider the most talented guitarist of all time. I wouldn't necessarily put them on the top of the list, but I would put them on the list if it was like a list of 20. You knew it wasn't Rihanna. It wasn't the Monkees. That's true. But either way, the Yardbirds. I have one album by the Yardbirds, just one. All right. Question number 16. Which record label turned down Led Zeppelin for a recording contract? Which record label turned down Led Zeppelin for a recording contract? Was it A, ABC, B, Mercury, C, RCA, or D, Atlantic? Which record label made the giant mistake of not signing Led Zeppelin to a recording contract? Yes. D, B, C, C. I was totally into the grunge scene. Were you? I didn't have much of a choice myself. I mean, I lived on in Seattle. Well, actually, I lived in Linwood, Washington, and right on Highway 99. And didn't matter where you go when grunge took off, you couldn't escape it. It was everywhere, and I mean everywhere. You go into an office complex, and I used to work downtown Seattle at the time, and I was commute from Linwood to downtown. But even elevator music back then was grunge music. Just they just removed the lyrics. That's how popular it was. Were you at the key party, Will? the key, the key. I don't know what the key party is. LOL. I used to go to the end party. I was only didn't get out much, when I lived there. Excuse me. When I lived in Linwood, the only bar I would go to was this place called Bat Rack. It was a sports bar. Right, Cart? You copied Cement Shoes. Which record label turned down Led Zeppelin for a recording contract? Okie dokie is going with C. Right, Cart? C. All right, question number 16. Which record label turned down Led Zeppelin for a recording contract? The correct answer is C, as in cat. RCA. Passed on Led Zeppelin. And I kid you not, they said they didn't have enough songs that sounded like they would be commercial hits. They didn't have enough songs that sounded like they'd be commercial hits. So they passed on them. Favor Hill, question 16B. Nope, it's C as in cat, RCA. And they have eventually signed with Atlantic Records. Everybody makes mistakes, but in hindsight, it's easy to try to, say, well, they've made a huge mistake. Yeah, it's a huge mistake, but who would have guessed that they would have been as popular as they were? Epic group, the Yardbirds. Yeah. All right, question 17. Sometimes a picture can say 1,000 words. In the iconic picture of the Beatles crossing Abbey Road, which member is barefoot? Is it A, John, B, Paul, C, Ringo, or D, George? Sometimes a picture can say 1,000 words. And the iconic picture of the Beatles crossing Abbey Road, which member is barefoot? Denise Carr, good evening. Welcome to Music Trivia. You taking off, Colleen? You have a great night, Colleen. Thank you for being here. Terry Reid turned down Led Zeppelin. Yoko. I have a 45 somewhere in one of these boxes that is it's a 45 on Apple Records of John Lennon, but it instead of it being John Lennon, it says John Ono Lennon. I never knew that he used Ono for his name on his records. Sometimes a picture can say 1,000 words. And the iconic picture of the Beatles crossing Abbey Road, which member is barefoot? B, because he's the dead man. all of them under their socks and shoes. Dun-dun-dun. Good evening, Pretty in Camo. I hope you're feeling better. Question 17, B, Paul. Wasn't there a rumor back then that Paul had died? Yes, being Nancy. It's one of the great conspiracy theories that Paul McCartney had died and they had replaced him with a look-alike. Dude was in the wrong biz. Zeppelin is iconic. Yeah. For this question 17, in my lifetime, I could not tell you how many times I've seen this picture or a painting or it being silk screened on a t-shirt. I actually have the t-shirt in my house, in my closet of the Beatles crossing Abbey Road. I mean, who hasn't seen this picture before? And until I read the question, I never knew that there was one of them who was barefoot. Looked at the picture 1,000 times, how they're spaced apart, what they're wearing. I could tell you everything about every outfit, but it never dawned on me that any of them, or one of them, was barefoot. I never, for some reason, it never clued into that until I got this question. I put this question on the trivia for tonight, and I was like, oh my god, he really is. He really is barefoot. Just popped in to say hi. I'm still in the hospital, and the pain pills are knocking me out. Well, you take care, Pretty in Camo. Sometimes a picture can say 1,000 words. In the iconic picture of the Beatles crossing Abbey Road, which member is barefooted? The correct answer is B, as in boy, Paul. He's wearing, a complete, got slacks and dress shirt and jacket on, and he is barefoot. I'm like, what? Out of all of them, I never would have thought that he was barefoot. And then again, I never thought that any of them were barefoot. And in case you're wondering, John Lennon is in front and he's wearing all white in a white suit. But poops, it didn't mean to say a bad word. Did you say a bad word, Denise? I didn't see it. No harm, no foul. I didn't see it. Well, I didn't see it, Denise. I'm sorry. I'm sure it was a mistake. But Paul McCartney was the one who was barefoot. All right, question number 18. What American rock band sold out more shows in Japan and to this very day still sells over 100,000 songs each and every year? Is it A, Motley Crue, B, Cheap Trick, C, Jane's Addiction, or D, Motorhead? What American rock band sold out more shows in Japan and to this very day still sells over 100,000 songs each and every year. Motley Crue, Cheap Trick, Jane's Addiction, or Motorhead. John Lennon died before I was born. Born. I was reading that. I idolized him until I learned about how he treated his son. Now you can't stand John. Kicking off, Purple. You have a good night. DLD. Good evening, DLD. DLD is guessing A, Motley Crue. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining us tonight. D, I'm the Game. Motorhead. Favorite band when I was 12, so I know this. Starfire. Thank you. Love your channel. Well, thank you, DLD. What American rock band sold out more shows in Japan and to this very day still sells over 100,000 songs each and every year? Okie dokie. E, Kiss. B, says Linda, just a shot in the dark. Paul wrote the song Hey Jude for John's son. Okie dokie is guessing B. I thought you were guessing E. E, B. Smith Shoes is going with B. What American rock band sold out more shows in Japan? Careful with those pain pills, my friend. I hope you feel better soon. I found myself enjoying opiates more than I should have. Ooh. Gotta be the Crew, says DLD. Rihanna's going with B. Question number 18. What American rock band sold out more shows in Japan and to this very day still sells over 100,000 songs each and every year? The correct answer is B, as in boy, Cheap Trick. I kid you not. It is the most bizarre thing if you look at the actual album sales for Cheap Trick in Japan. They absolutely freaking love the band in Japan. I can't remember how long it's been, 20 some years since they released anything new, or basically. But they said they sold out more shows than any other rock band, in Japan. And every year they still outperform a lot of newer bands in album sales and song sales. A lot of the 100,000 that they use now is digital downloads and purchases. It's not like they're out there selling actual record albums anymore. Stephanie Fisher, good evening. Hello, Will. Dang it. You are correct, Favorite Hill. B. But I was looking at the actual 2020. I think it was like 113,000. But it's been over 100,000 every single year in actual total sales. I mean, they're way down at the bottom at 100,000 sales, but still money. At least for the record company. I don't know about the group. I hope the group's still making money off it. They're an awesome band. Mama's always all right. All right, question number 19. Who sang Midnight Rider? Is it A, the Doobie Brothers, B, the Allman Brothers, C, Cat Stevens, or D, Tracy Chapman? Who sang the song Midnight Rider? Japanese probably love Tina Turner. Tina by Cheap Trick. B, Allman Brothers, B, Midnight Rider. Inner peas, David Hasselhoff. Midnight Rider. That's good. Midnight Rider. Your show does rock. I looked forward to this. Well, thank you, Rihanna. I appreciate that. All CDC. Cat Stevens actually changed his name to Yusuf Islam. Is Cat Stevens' name now? Should probably put that in there. But I'm sure more people remember him as Cat Stevens and don't remember him as Yusuf Islam. Love the Allman Brothers. Who sang the song Midnight Rider? He converted to Islam, Cat Stevens, long time ago. Changed his name and converted to Islam. And then the U.S. government, during the war on terrorism, put him on the no-fly list. No kidding. Wish it was a joke. If you ever want to watch something that's really funny but tragic at the same time, watch the YouTube. The documentary is on YouTube. I know it is. That goes over how Cat Stevens ended up on the no-fly list, not only for America but several different countries. And he didn't find out about it until he was coming back to the United States to from Great Britain to for some kind of an award. It's like a lifetime achievement award or something like that. But they found out he was on the no-fly list and they detained him. Yeah, the war against terrorists. But who sang Midnight Rider? All right, question number 19. Thanks to the Patriot Act. Yeah, right? Who sang Midnight Rider? The correct answer for number 19 is obviously B. B as in boy, the Allman Brothers. All right, question number 20. Good golly, Miss Molly. Who is the only band member Little Richard ever kicked out of his band? Good golly, Miss Molly. Who is the only band member Little Richard ever kicked out of his band? Was it A, Jimi Hendrix, B, Lightfingers McGee, C, Horton Lee, or D, Jimmy Buffett? Who is the only member? Good golly, Miss Molly. Molly Golightly. In her peas. Well, don't forget to look up that teacher I told you about. I wrote it down, Amy. Lawrence Norwalk. Lawrence, how do you pronounce that? Bottone? Bottone. Norwalk, from Connecticut. I'm going to look him up right after this. Rykart E. Sammy Davis. Who is the only member that Little Richard ever kicked out of his band? Right after 9/11 that happened? You're on fire tonight, Aaron Pease. Aaron Pease is always on fire. Such a blast when she's here to help, break up and add a little comedy to all this. I really appreciate her being here. Jimmy Buffett is a member of the Bohemian Club. Is he? I didn't know that. Will, did you look up Danny? Yes, I did. Actually, Casolero. How do you pronounce it? Casolero. I have a post-it note. If you can't see it, it would probably help if I turn the camera on. I have a post-it note about it right there. And yes, I did. Submit shoes. E. Barry Morphew. Question 20. Who is the only member that Little Richard ever kicked out of his band? The correct answer is A as in apple, ladies and gentlemen. Jimi Hendrix. Little Richard kicked Jimi Hendrix out of his band. Oh, wait until you see this picture. What you see on your screen here is Little Richard's band, and that is Jimi Hendrix to the left. Is that how you guys remember Jimi Hendrix? Look at him. That is not a doctored up photograph. That is Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix and Little Richard together, they were friends their entire, pretty much their entire lives. Even after Jimmy, got famous on his own, Little Richard and him kept close. They're through it all, and they always, respected each other, but they just could not work together anymore. He kicked him out of the band. The square look wasn't for him. He probably kicked Jimi Hendrix out because he probably tried to bite Little Richard. It was the reason Little Richard. Jimmy never really wanted to talk about it much because he didn't want to start a riff with his own friend. But Little Richard would go on later on and say the only reason why he asked him to leave the band was because of artistic differences. That Jimmy wanted to move in a different direction than where Little Richard wanted to move his band going forward. So he asked him to leave. Jimi Hendrix. was the only member he ever kicked out of his band. All the other gentlemen who were on that list, they are all members of the band, or they played with Little Richard over the years. But that he was the only one that got kicked out. Just ask yourself, would you buy a used car from this guy? From the Jimi Hendrix in that photo? He was the best looking out of the lot of them. Well, Jimmy also got his ass kicked out of the army, didn't he? I think he got booted from the army because he went like AWOL or something so he could go play music. I think it was the army. It was his hair. They should make a movie about this shocking news. I think the first time I heard about that actual little tidbit about Jimi Hendrix playing with Little Richard, because you wouldn't think that they would, their musical styles and everything else were so vastly different. I think it was on Livewire. Was I think the first time I ever heard of that Jimi Hendrix played with Little Richard, and they were pretty much best friends. Not as growing up, but as a young adults, and growing into towards the end of Jimmy's life, they were always close. But Livewire, I think that was the first place I heard it. I don't get that impression Jimmy liked to take orders. That's not Jimi Hendrix. Joking. Well, that's all. That's all 20 questions for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Music trivia. The pot now rolls over. The trivia question pot rolls over to next week. Next week, I have to check the book again. Since I already had it right here when I put it away. Next week is $40. $40 cash or $40 on an Amazon gift card. It's a digital code that I email you. Taking off, Amy. You have a great week. Favorite Hill, see you next week, Will. You too, Favorite Hill. Thank you for joining us again tonight. Billy Cat, 26. That was fun. Well, good. A lot shorter than it used to. When we had the 30 questions, I used to do the 30 questions. Some of those went 2.5 hours right in there just to get through the 30 questions. Thought about putting an actual timer on the screen so you can actually see how much longer you have to figure out like a countdown timer. Boo, I was late. It's always fun. Great host and chat. Well, thank you, Nancy. Sorry I missed half, but thank you. Great to catch up. Well, good. Okie dokie. I'm glad you could stop in tonight and play, even if you missed half of it. I'm off to see the Eagles Wednesday night. Oh, well, enjoy that show. Timers make me nervous. Cement shoes. Thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great week. Inner peace. Thank you. Well, we have clocks on our devices. Well, that's true. But the timer would be, because sometimes I do a lot of this, and I don't stop and shut up, enough in between the questions. So Sometimes you'll notice, like in between questions, there might be like a 7 minute span between me reading the question and actually giving the answer. And other times it's like 3 minutes. So not really consistent. I want everybody to be able to figure it out, but got to kind of find a way to keep it all going still. Excuse me. DLD. Thanks and see you next time. Oh, Canada. Stephanie Fisher. Bye, everyone. You have a great week, Stephanie. Are you going to keep doing the 60 seconds or less? Yes. I have a Lori Vallow one coming up on Tuesday. The 60 seconds or less. To answer your question, the short. Yes. That'll be Tuesday. And then tomorrow is Josh Duggar. I got a C. Well, everybody, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed the trivia night tonight, I really would appreciate it. Lori, sorry neighbors. He was in the army, but didn't know he went AWOL. My son is in the Air Force and went from Germany to the Netherlands to help Afghan refugees come to America. He witnessed a baby being born. Wow. Well, that's cool. And thank you to your son for his service. Okie dokie. Good night. You have a great week. Okie dokie. So he went from Ramstein, Germany, to the Netherlands to help Afghan refugees. I've been to Ramstein. Didn't get to see a lot of it. Saw some of the country, some of the town, villages around that area. And my cat is awake finally. Great fun. Thank you, Interpeas. Well, everyone, I'm going to wrap this up there. Thank you very much to everybody who stopped in to play music trivia tonight. I hope you all have a terrific week ahead. Thank you again. Now remember, tomorrow, comedy skit about Josh Duggar. Tuesday is Lori Vallow. I have nothing on Wednesday at all because I have to change that on my banner from Wednesday because I take Wednesdays off because I have other things that are going on. And if you haven't checked out mine and my wife's podcast, the Taco Podcast, we're back. We released a new episode. It's on the channel right now on the Taco Podcast. Wishing there was an after party. Denise Carr, you're welcome. I had fun too. Bummer, I was late. It's okay, Interpeace. But thank you again, everyone. You all have a terrific night. Thank you again.